Welcome to the Ms.Esquire Podcast, a community that truly believes that your network is your net worth. I'm Rahysa Vargas, your co-host and the founder of Ms.Esquire.
I'm Trisha Widowfield. I'm the Vice President Ms.Esquire and your co-host.
And we always love starting every episode by thanking our two incredible sponsors, one of which is Littler, which is a full-service employment law firm, and it's actually the largest in the world globally.
We also have Professional Interpreting Associates, which provides interpreting and translating services across all fields.
Yeah, and today we have a special guest.
We have Patricia Flanagan, who owns the firm Work Visa Lawyers. So thank you, Patricia, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So we're excited to have her here today because she's an immigration attorney that deals with immigration, and obviously the topic is very hot right now and it's near and dear to my heart. So I wanted to have somebody come and speak about it that I trust and that I love, and I'm excited to have you here today. But today we always start, not just today, we start every single episode asking everybody a question about their business. So obviously you own your own business, and I think that a misconception is the overnight success really takes 20 years. It's not really overnight, right? So what do you think is one of the most instrumental seeds that you planted early on in your career that has led you to where you are today?
I think the relationships have formed, for sure. As you said, your network is your net worth, and they say you are who you know.
Yeah,
but to our certain extent, it's true. There are many people who have guided me through my professional life, through my business life, and also who have helped me grow my business. And I've learned a lot from them. You know, and when I say grow my business, when you talk about somebody helping you grow your business, it's not only about sending you clients.
Right.
It's about giving you the right advice at the right time.
Right.
And understanding sometimes, okay, she needs to take a break. She doesn't understand what she's doing. Let me stop her right there. And I really appreciate all the people who have helped me and have said, okay, take a break. Let's think about it. Are you sure that's the next person you need to hire? Or maybe you should be hiring somebody right now? Those kind of advice from people who have done it before. And I think you also have to be very open to listening to what other people who have done it before have to say.
I love it.
I think that's great. Why don't you just tell us how you decided to become an immigration attorney, or why you decided to become an immigration attorney?
Okay, I think I've been an attorney all my life, in the sense that I was the one who was always defending everybody at school. All my friends always knew I'd be an attorney. So how did I become an immigration attorney? Probably happened a little later. I was always very obsessed and interested in human rights and international relations. And I actually went to college to study international relations. So I didn't know if I would end up doing international business or dealing with international organizations. But when I was in college, I did an internship for the International Rescue Committee.
Okay.
And they help victims of human trafficking. And my job, and I was in college, what I was doing for them was helping victims of human trafficking go back to the world. So I literally taught somebody how to take a bus in Miami to go from her house to a supermarket and how to go grocery shopping.
Wow.
And for me, that was life-changing, because imagine this person wasn't allowed to go out on the street by herself.
Right.
So she didn't even know how to make it to the supermarket or how to take a bus. You know, she was brought from her country and pretty much placed in a place where she could not leave. Okay, she was a slave, 21st century slave. So when I began, once I got my license, I began looking for a job in the immigration world, and I got it. And I've done a little bit of everything. I've done asylum, I've done deportation, I've done family immigration. But right now, my passion is to help people come to the United States with a plan, to know what they're going to do before they get here. I tell everyone that my dear client is not here yet, because I realized that when you're an immigration attorney that does remove a defense, when the person comes to your office and they don't have a status, you have nothing to do with it. It wasn't anything wrong that you did that put that person in that position.
Right.
But what people don't realize is that a lot of people end up in that position because of bad advice and misinformation.
Right.
So if I can help somebody come here and never fall into the deportation system, I'm doing a great job, because my job as a person who mainly represents people who never been out of status is to keep them in status.
So first, where were you originally from? Where were you
Okay.
born? Tell us a little bit about your
I
background.
was born in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, born
Yeah.
and raised. I lived there for the first 18 years of my life. I used to come to Miami almost every summer for vacation, and I never thought, well, actually, that's not true. I always knew I wanted to study in the United States. I just, eventually my family decided to move here, and that's when my journey began. But I was also misinformed at some point.
Yeah.
Because when I registered in college, they told me at Broward Community College that I could study the first semester with my tourist visa,
Which is not true.
which is not true. So when I went to look for my F1, my F1 was denied because I had done that. I was lucky enough that my immigration process was so far advanced that I was only stuck in the DR for 4 more months. But I did miss pretty much the entire year of college because of that. Because then, when I came back in October, I couldn't go back to college. I had to wait until January, and many things happened.
Yeah.
So yes, a lot of people fall out of status or do things that do not comply with their status because of misinformation.
Yeah.
And schools give bad information all the time. Your neighbor gives bad information all the time. Your family members. It's very scary out there.
I mean, and from attorney to attorney, even immigration attorneys, it's like a totally different world. But what I'm actually more concerned about, maybe you don't know this, Trish, but in our countries, notarios, notaries, okay, are something very different. And actually, people here practice immigration illegally by saying that they're a notary. So basically, they are a notary, but then they help immigrants file paperwork and they give them wrong legal advice. And a lot of people from our countries, they actually don't know the difference between like, oh, well, notario can do that in our country. And so they fall into the hands of like a notary that is giving them immigration advice, and they either don't file it on time, they go through the process incorrectly, they file for visas that they don't, can even apply or ever receive, asylum cases that are not really worthy of applying. And a lot of those people spend all of their money going through this process, and it's still very expensive because it's not even cheap. I've seen notaries recommend their services for thousands of dollars, which is actually the saddest part. So I don't know if you can touch a little bit on that.
Yes. Number one, it's illegal in Florida, as you said, for a notary or for a preparer to advise anybody on legal issues. That's the first thing I want to say. And yes, I see it all the time. I see it on a weekly basis when somebody came to me and I said, and I asked, who filed this for you? It was a preparer, it was a notary.
Wow.
It
happens all
takes
the time.
4 hours for a person to become a notary in the United States. In our countries, it's 10 years, so everybody thinks this person is qualified. Or they think that the attorney is trying to take their money. No, we're trying to do a good job. In order to do a good job, we have to charge you what we have to charge you.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, these people don't have anything to lose. And what they understand is we are licensed attorneys, that we have our license to lose, we have our business to lose, our way of living, while these people can just move to another place and you will never find them again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in this era where you think you can find somebody, no.
Yeah.
People get lost and people tell me, oh, I cannot find a copy of my file because I don't know where this person is, and although they don't answer the phone anymore. What do I do? So for a long time, they couldn't do anything. But now the state of Florida has become a little more strict with that. They just passed a law where supposedly they're going to help you. There's a new cause of action that you can bring against the notarios and the preparer, but we'll see how that gets enforced.
Yeah, I mean, they need to do something to regulate it because I think this is one of the biggest problems. But aside from that, touching on, obviously, I went through the whole immigration process, which is why this is like a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. But one of the things that I have found common misconception is whether you came here legally or then were illegal, why does the process take so long? And for me, candidly, it took over 30 years. And I was here legally through LULAC also, and then I became illegal once LULAC was terminated, right? So some people don't know that people can be here legally and then become illegal because their protective status has been either removed or that program has been removed. So I don't know if you could touch a little bit about why does it take so long and how are people here legally and then become illegal while they're here? and a little bit about why the process is maybe not as easily understood, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions on, it just shouldn't take as long.
It was actually not until I was in Ms.Esquire and met immigration attorneys that I learned that it took all of these years. I had no idea. I mean, I had not been through it. I didn't know anyone who had been through it that I knew of. But I had no idea that it would take 30 years.
Well, number one, the immigration laws are very old, believe it or not. So the quota for immigrants does not reflect the need that the United States has for family members to be reunited and for employees and professionals to come to the United States. So depending in what category you are, there's only so many numbers of green cards available for you, but there are way more people asking for the same green cards.
Right.
So for example, I was petitioned for my brother who happened to have been born in the United States in the 70s when my parents lived briefly in the United States. So right now, if a sibling, a U.S. citizen, asks for their sibling to join them in the United States, the waiting time is almost 20 years.
Wow.
So for example, he petitioned for me when I was 8 years old. That's why by the time I was 19, I had my green card. But even then, it was over 10 years. So that's number one. The quota is not realistic for the amount of families that need to be reunited or for the amount of workers that are needed. For example,
imagine like not being with your family and you're like, you get to see them in 10 years. That's absolutely insane.
Absolutely insane. And the same happens for many of the green card categories for employment-based visas. So for example, if you're waiting for your green card, you're an engineer from almost any country, and you got a labor certification approved, you can probably be here in 3 or 4 years. But probably your company that is petitioning for you, they might not be able to wait for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
But even worse, many of the engineers, for example, who are in the United States waiting for the green cards are from India, and they have to wait over 20 years for the green cards to be approved.
Wow.
Because the priority date is so far behind, because the quota is not only for the kind of visa, but also by country. It goes by country.
Right.
So all that has to change. So in the meantime, sometimes there are temporary visas or temporary status that can be claimed. But if there's any mishap in the way, then you fall out of status. And people who come legally can fall without status, sometimes because of misinformation. Sometimes they do take missteps, but sometimes something really bad like happened with Lula could happen. For example, there's over 1 million people who came legally less than, for the last 2 years, and now they don't have status because they were granted a legal parole to come in. Right. They came with permission. They presented themselves at the border, at the airport, not at the border. They came through airplanes, most of them.
Right. Yeah. Not like through the Rio Grande. Like
yes.
A lot of people think that you're crossing the Mexican border only. No.
They came from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti. Through the airport, they jumped on an airplane. They came here. They were allowed in. They were given work permits within a month. And all of a sudden, now they're illegal here, because the government decided that they're no longer welcome here. It's like you open the door for somebody at your house and they have dinner at my house. In the middle of the store, you tell them, okay, it's time for you to leave.
Yeah. Like, call the cops.
Yes, call the cops. It's time for you to leave. When they haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything wrong, because if any of those people had committed a crime, probably they were already processed and they're already deported. Pretty much they're doing in general. This is something that is attacking every single person that most likely hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah. So I think one of the things as attorneys for us that we have seen a change in immigration is due process. So I have been very concerned about due process and the process in which these people, we're seeing a lot of people, their status be terminated immediately at these hearings versus before actually going through. There was a lot of protections. There was DACA protections. There was protections if you had children at home. That has been like completely breaking my heart to see families rip apart. And like I recently saw a hearing, there's a lot of foundations that people are going to like try to help, and there's no real way of helping them, but they're there and they're sharing their stories, because all these people are people. One of which broke my heart last Friday was, there was a mom and a dad that they came to their hearing, and their 2-year-old was born here and their 10-month-old was born here. And the 2-year-old and 10-month-old, it wasn't their hearing, so they stayed at home with a nanny. They hired a nanny. And at their hearing, they were deported immediately.
Oh my!
dad was able to make a call on one of the people that was helping there quickly to the nanny to tell them that they were going to get deported. But one of his last questions to the judge was, what will happen to my kids? Right? Because now he's going to get, like, I don't want to like cry on this episode.
I think that you're going to. I can see it coming.
But anyways, but like he had to be escorted immediately. And listen, I have 3 kids under 5, and that there could not be something to break. I mean, there's a lot of things that break my heart, but it killed me. I was like, to not be able to like see your 10-month-old baby, you're like immediately getting through this process. So a big part of it has been due process. So I don't know if you can kind of explain a little bit or bring to light what has been really different this time around than it was.
It is making a lot of people really scared.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, what is happening is that the government is using expedited removal in a way that has never used before, in a way that might not be legal. Because the expedited removal process is only supposed to be for people who came through the border, like without permission, and that were not granted any parole at the border within the last 2 years. So that family probably came before that if they have a 2-year-old who was born here.
Right.
So they probably were here for at least about 2 years and 9 months, you know?
Right.
So we're gonna assume that we were here for longer than 2 years. So that shouldn't have happened to them. And it is really breaking a lot of homes. And I think it's gonna make a lot of people afraid to go to court.
Right.
Because they went to court because they had a regular hearing. And when they were not expedited to end up in an expedited process that had totally changed their life for a while, or at least. You know, we're gonna hope that at some point they're gonna be reunited, but we don't know when it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So that has to end, and I think it's time for Congress to do something, and for the courts to do something. I still believe in the check and balance system, and I hope that somebody's gonna stop this very soon. For a while I was hoping that this was fireworks and that will stop sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
It's been over 6 months now. Almost 6 months. So I'm hoping at some point somebody has to realize this is not the way to do things right.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we are hoping that everybody remembers that this is a free country, this is a republic, and you cannot be just finishing lives like that, like separating families.
Yeah.
And it's a problem for everybody because now where their children are going to go?
Right.
They're going to come through the straight system and we're going to have to pay for everything for them too. So where does it end, you know? It's still a government problem. It could have been way easier if you just united the family, not only for the money part, but the emotional part and the psychological part that you're subjecting these 2 American children to so much pain.
Right.
Yeah.
For no real reason.
They don't even know this nanny. And I think that there's a lot of trauma obviously attached to it. I mean, we've seen people, I don't know if you know Orange is the New Black. Have you ever watched Orange is the New Black? So the one of the actors in her name is Diana, and do you know what I'm about? She's Colombian.
Yes.
She actually wrote a whole book about her deportation, like her family being deported back to Colombia when she was in high school, and a family took her in. And she ends up becoming a famous actress. But she speaks about how much that traumatized her, how that rift, she didn't get to see her parents for over 10 years because they didn't have any legal status. She didn't have any legal status. She was like raised by people that she didn't really, like, they were friends, a family of friends, you know, and she's lucky that they took her in. But there's so many of those children right now that I think that that's the part that we're just like, if you're a mom or, you know, you're just like heartbroken. You're like, how can this happen to all these kids? And what is going to be the solution? Like, one of the things that I've done, I was like, how can I help these families is come up with what can we give them? Like, what power can we give of a family member that's here that they have ready, like some sort of poder, so that they can give to somebody to like take their kid out of school, like things you don't think about, you know, like who can go and take their kid out of school, like who can take them to the hospital if God forbid their kid needs to go to the hospital while these people are in this in deportation proceedings, right? So we've been doing a lot of those things. So it's been a lot. But I know Trish mentioned a little bit about why people are scared, and I think that's
definitely one of the reasons that people have been scared. And yes, every person who has a child needs to be concerned what will happen if they are not here tomorrow.
Right.
Now, but they shouldn't be separating because of this.
right.
Okay, most of the family that have been separated is not because they've been committing crimes.
Right.
And a lot of people will say, "Oh, but crossing the border illegally is a crime." Not really. Like,
Right.
you know, if you have a fear of returning to your country because you might lose your life or your liberty, you have a right to an asylum hearing. And many of these families are not getting that day in court.
Yeah. And even we've seen, I think originally this whole conversation started and there wasn't a lot of examples. People were like talking about the one guy, the
LPR.
Yeah, they were like, they sent this one guy accidentally to a sequel, and like that's only one example. And now there's thousands of examples of this happening. And it's obviously not just happening to people that are alleged criminals, but obviously kids and babies. We've seen like people that are U.S. citizens that were little kids that were going through cancer treatments, and that's been really concerning about, hey, the mom can't stay here anymore to finalize her child's like cancer treatment. A 4-year-old, this is a big thing in Congress, that a 4-year-old couldn't finish her cancer treatment because they were expedited deported, and that was never a thing. What protections were there before that kind of have gone away? Is that what happened?
Well, pretty much the expedited process wasn't being applied to everybody and wasn't even really being applied to people that actually could go through the expedited process. There was always a concern, right? And we always, I don't do as much deportation, but deportation attorneys always explain to the client, so you've been here less than 2 years, this could happen to you. But it wasn't the ideal tool. That wasn't the tool that the government was using. But the problem right now is not only that they're using that tool, is that it's being misused. Because a lot of people who are not subject to expedited removal are being subject to expedited removal. Like the government decided to expand the criteria in a way that is not really constitutional, because in the books it says 2 years enter without inspection, and they are using it for people that be here up to 4 years. So that is not going to end well in the courts. I do hope that there's a solution for that in the courts, but in the meantime, many families are being affected by that.
Right.
And I think there's also a lot of concern, and I'm very concerned about people being targeted just of the way that they look.
Yeah.
There is a story that I read just yesterday of somebody who was working outside a Walmart, and he was picking up the trash. He was a Walmart worker, and he's a U.S. citizen born. And he was detained outside the Walmart just because of the way that he looks and what he was doing. And that's very concerning, because that's how genocide starts.
Right.
And we have to say the word. That's how genocide starts. And hopefully somebody's going to stop this fast.
Yeah, I think we live in Miami, and it's like, I mean, do we live in Miami? I'm like, you don't live in Miami, you live in Aventura. That's right. Miami's considered Miami. Okay.
And we are in Miami today.
We are in Miami and Doranzuela. But anyways, what I was going to say was, I think oftentimes I'm like even trying to, this is kind of sad that I'm going to say, but like I'm trying to educate even our own people. You know what I mean? Even Hispanics. And I'm like, guys, if you exit out of the 305, we look very different. We will be the minority, and immediately people will be like, where's your accent from? Where are you from? You're not from here. You know, it's not lost on me that I think why it's hit me so hard is that it's never lost. I feel like God has been so good to me, but it's not lost on me every single day. And this is part of why I want to do more and stuff, that this could be me. That I'm no different than everybody else. Like, not my pink shirt, not me doing this podcast, not being me being an attorney. Their story is me. Like, there's another 4-year-old little girl that has the exact same dreams as me, but that they're being ripped apart, you know? So I think that that's never lost on me. And I think that a big part of it is like even educating people that are here. Then I'm like, guys, if you go to Oklahoma, there's a high probability we're going to be racially profiled for being illegal, even though we're not. I mean, I'm a citizen, but like that could totally happen. And it's not, I mean, we've seen people, I mean, this is sad. We've seen Puerto Ricans get detained.
Oh, jeez.
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Puerto Ricans have gotten detained and said they are Puerto Rican. And the people are like, are you illegal? I'm like, okay.
I was in a deposition once, and the lady asked, where he was born, and he said Puerto Rico. What's your U.S. citizen status? I was like, what?
It's like ICE doesn't know that Puerto Ricans are part of the United States of America. Like, I'm concerned because it's like, who are we?
Well, and also, like, where does it stop?
Right.
I mean, once that bleeds over, no one's safe, really.
Yeah. No, and it's honestly like I've seen now we've had stories of them coming into schools, and I was like, living my son. I mean, we're in Miami-Dade County, so that's probably he's not going to be. But I mean, he's of two ethnicities, right? And I was like, either way, even if he wasn't the person they're coming to, he would be traumatized that a child was taken out of his class. Do you know what I mean? Like that is just. We've reached new levels of things that I think that's why people are having so many conversations. And I think it's important to have a conversation because I think there needs to be some sort of, like you said, there needs to be checks and balances. There needs to be congressional acts. Like, somebody needs to move on this, on what due process actually really means and what does our Constitution really stand for. And also it does say for all people. And I think people they didn't realize, no one's read the Constitution, but for those of us who have, all people included all people, included yes. Black people, included white people, included Hispanic people, included illegal immigrants, included legal immigrants, especially legal immigrants that came and then became illegal. So I think that's been like a big part of the motivating conversations. Like we need to educate a lot more people on the process and the misconceptions that everyone. Can you talk about it being not criminal? Because I love when people bring up that coming here is also a criminal offense. And I'm like, guys, there is different ways of coming here and not every single way is considered a criminal offense.
Yes. Coming to the United States through the border for the first time is not criminal. It's not in a criminal code. It's a violation of the immigration code. And not necessarily it's a violation for everybody. It's only a violation for those who really hide from being detained. Because if you are afraid of losing your life or your liberty if you go back to your country, you are actually encouraged to go and approach an immigration officer and say, I want to claim asylum in the United States. Personally, do I think everybody has to come to the border? No. I think the border should be a place where only the people are really fighting for their lives to come. And that's one of my missions as an immigration attorney. That's the message that I take every day. If you want to come to the United States, there are many ways to come that do not include the border at all. But coming for the first time through the border is not on the criminal code. Coming more than one time, yes. Coming down, if you are deported and you come back, there's a criminal charge for that. There's a criminal, in the criminal code, re-entry after deportation is a crime. Yeah. But most of the people have only come once. Right. Most of the people have stayed here once. Most of the people have only crossed the border once. Either, as I said, fighting for their, running for their life, trying to save their liberty, or misinformation. Whatever the three reasons are, they only did it once. Yeah. And they're just trying to legalize their status now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I know we're going to talk to her a little bit about what she actually does, because she doesn't, this, I'll turn into a passionate conversation for 55 minutes on, immigration reform, but that's not all we came here to talk about.
Right. Yes. So my understanding is that you actually don't deal with deportation.
No anymore. And for what I told you, because I realized that I couldn't do much for the people who are
in the process.
Yeah. I didn't put them in that position, right? Who are in the process. Yes, I could be a very serious advocate for them, but at the end of the day, I didn't put them there. Right. But at some point, it dawned on me that I can do something to prevent more people to fall in where they are. And that's my passion right now, to help people to come in a way, in a legal way from the beginning. And number two, to make sure that once they're here, they don't fall into deportation proceedings.
So tell us a little bit about that. Whenever you say you help them come the right way.
Yes.
So what's the right way for your clients?
If we're going to say the right way.
No, not the right way. There are lots of right ways. That's not what I said. That's absolutely not what she said. Actually, she said to come here and avoid going through that entire process and come a legal way from the beginning.
Well, as I explained earlier, to get your green card, normally there's a long way. Mm-hmm. But if you want to come temporarily, there are ways to get your visa really fast if you're coming to work in the United States, for example. Or if you're an investor and you have ideas of businesses, franchises, you have some money or you have some talents to spread in the United States. There are ways to come here way faster. And you can live here many years in those status while you wait for your green card. And that's what I'm trying to explain to people. And that's what I try to do. So, most of my clients are entrepreneurs or professionals trying to work in the United States or trying to open a business in the United States. And most of them have been able to do it. And I'm happy every time. Like just today in Santo Domingo, I have a Colombian national who has, a business of pet grooming, and she just got her visa to come.
Oh, nice.
Today. She had to go to Santo Domingo because there were no appointments in Bogota, but she just got it today. And that's what I do. And right now, the pet grooming service that she bought already has 8 U.S. employees.
That's awesome.
And every time, when people ask me, oh, what kind of law that you do? I don't understand. And it's like, do you live in Miami? Yes. Do you look at those hotels? You look at those businesses, those plaza? What do you think owns them? They are all owned by foreign nationals. Not all of them, but a good part of them.
Yeah. I love that you also touched on another topic, that this immigrant, she's buying a franchisor, the pet grooming, and she has created 8 jobs for U.S. citizens, which is also very interesting because there's a conversation on, but a lot of the people that are coming EB-5s and EB-2s and those things are creating jobs in the U.S., which is a big part of that entire process. The only way for you to actually get that status is in order you're creating jobs. I don't know for how many people. I mean, I'll leave that to you.
Well, it depends on the visa, right? But every person who comes to invest in the United States is required to create jobs. There's a quota for certain kind of visas. For example, a person who buys the green card, just a way to buy your green card, it costs $900,000 or $1,050,000.
Okay.
If you buy your green card that way, you're supposed to create 10 jobs. But for the success of an E2, an EB2, or other kind of visas, and L visas, for example, the government likes to see that you're employing people. And one of the requirements is at least 50% of your workforce is U.S. workers.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean necessarily U.S. citizens.
Right.
It can be U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, or people who have already been granted status, TPS status, or asylum status. So that's one of the purpose of everybody who invests here. And most of my clients create jobs.
Now, for your clients, do they have to show that they've been successful at their business in their home country before they can have a business here?
Depending on the visa, yes. That you've done it before, it's very important to show that you can do it again. Unless you have already a ton of capital saved for the business and you have a lot of clients. But you won't have that unless you already have a successful business before.
Right.
But definitely, there are young people, they're very talented and they have a lot to give, that there are professional visas for them too, even if it's not an investor visa.
What about the extraordinary? There's like the extraordinary, I don't know which EB is that.
That's the EB-1A.
EB-1.
Okay, so I have a story about everything that is happening right now.
Yes.
When USCIS denies a case, they have to place a person that they're denying the benefit in immigration proceedings right away. So I have a Haitian client who has, TPS is ending.
Right.
And she's an Olympian.
Oh.
This person is an Olympian, so she could qualify for an EB-1A for being extraordinary in her field. I'm not going to say more because I don't want to identify this person. Okay? So she applied for TPS. USCIS asked her for more evidence. She submitted the evidence timely, but USCIS is claiming that she didn't. So they denied her TPS and put her in removal proceedings.
Wow.
So right now, my hands are kind of tight,
right?
Because I cannot apply for extraordinary ability green card, which you can get right away, by the way, because there's no wait for the best. United States wants the best of the best. So if you can claim your green card because you are extraordinary and one of the best, you don't have to wait a day. Your green card is right there waiting for you. So the green card of this lady is waiting for her. So now I'm gonna have to sue the government. I'm finishing my complaint saying, I had the FOIA. I know they did receive the evidence. So you did receive the evidence. You have to reopen this case, and you have to rescind that removal order. Not removal order. She's not in removal, but they placed her in removal. So I need you to cancel that ATN. So ATA, Notice of Appeal, that's the document that commenced the removal proceedings. So I can apply for EB-1A, and she can be a green card holder this year. So yes.
Is your favorite thing suing the government?
Oh,
Yes.
I love suing the government.
I'm about to join you.
I love suing the government. The government, people don't realize that the government makes mistakes every day.
Yes.
And there are resources to fight them and resources to make them know that they're wrong and that we know it and make them accountable. And that's one of my passions. So that's the way that I'm going to be able to help this Haitian national, because our TPS is ending in August. And he seems there's no
So
gonna
wait,
change.
is she or he in a center right now or no?
No, but she
Okay,
has a
thank
hearing
God.
in September.
Oh wow.
So if I don't get this done now, TPS for Haiti is ending in August. So I'm suing this in federal court, hopefully today or tomorrow. Then the government has 60 days to respond. That will be September already.
Wow.
So one of my asks in my petition is for USCIS to expedite, but also to rescind that notice to appear, so she doesn't have to go in front of immigration judge. Honestly, if by the time September comes, her TPS status is approved retroactively, that day the immigration judge could give her a green card if I have the first part of her case approved already. That's how crazy it is.
Well, good
So
luck,
we'll see how
friend.
that goes.
That's crazy. I think one thing to be said for sure is that immigration is so complex.
Right.
And every country, it varies from country to country, what kind of statuses you're getting, when you came, what, like the US is not giving the same visas and or green cards. I mean, we're seeing right now, even with the travel bans, that like certain countries are on the restricted list. And it's interesting because some people are like, you know, if you're Cuban and you received, I mean, back then there was a wet foot, dry foot, you received your US residency or US citizenship within 1 year, right? It was 1 year, 1 day.
They could apply for a green card within a year and a day.
Right.
It didn't matter how they came in. That was the good thing for them at that time. But now they don't have that privilege anymore.
Right. And so there's so much that it's so complex, even for somebody going through the whole system. I've become, you know, ironically enough, I always wanted to become an immigration attorney before. That's the whole reason I wanted to help people. And I was like, like having lived the experience, I felt like I would be so passionate and I would really want to advocate for people. I'm like, for my people. But then I also was like, do you know how much I don't sleep?
Oh.
And I already don't sleep about this whole issue. So I couldn't even imagine myself going through the process of like going through hearings and like for these people. So I was like, you know what, God knows more than I. But I actually recently at church, I was sitting next to someone who was like crying and she told me her whole story. She's actually on the news, so I can share this she came out on Channel 6 and all the news stations down here. And she had married a Venezuelan national who had gone through TPS, and she married him and they picked him up at their apartment. And he's in deportation proceedings, and they were married over 1 year and 1 day. The problem is that they did it with a notario, and they did their application for marriage. This is like a real marriage. Like they've been together, they met at church, all the things. And the person had filed it, like, I guess late, like by a week or something. And that's the whole reason why he's in the deportation proceedings. And it's kind of like, you know, it's so complex. Like every case is so different and there's just not just one answer. And I think for us, like living through the whole process and being here, I think for us, we agree on, you know, there are real criminals out there, but I think we need to fix the problem here. I don't know if you feel that way.
No, for sure. It must happen. Immigration reform has to happen sooner rather than later, because there are so many people who don't have status here, who have lived here for over 30 years.
Yeah.
You kind of just come one day and say, I'm going to deport you. It's not fair.
Right.
And what I tell a lot of people, many people don't know this. For many years, you will go to a deportation hearing. If you were not granted your status, you were ordered deported, and that was it. They will send you home because you had 30 days to appeal. But then the 30 days came, you didn't file the appeal, or eventually the appeal was denied, and guess what? Nobody went to pick you up. And then it's been 30 years since you had your order of deportation. Is it really your fault at this point?
Right.
You know, like they didn't make you leave. And of course, you were not leaving voluntarily, but like 30 years later, they're going to make you leave for real.
Right.
And it's like a country you don't really know. I mean, I came when I was 9 months old. Let me tell you something. I know nothing about, like, you put me in Bogota and I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know my right foot from my left foot. You know, it's like a country you don't know. We're talking about real situations that like people don't know these places anymore.
And 30 years later, it's not deporting you as a person. It's deporting your family.
Right.
It's destroying your business, your relationships, your employees, or the people
career.
who depend on you, your career. Yes, the immigration reform must happen. It must happen fast. But more importantly, while we wait for that to happen, I think everybody has to be very careful when listening to somebody, you know, like
Yes.
always please go to an immigration attorney. And if you have to look for a second opinion, do it. Like people sometimes don't like that they hear from me. And I'm okay if you go, you know, they can go and listen to another attorney, but please always listen to attorneys. because no two lives are the same or no two stories are the same.
Right.
Even the passport that you hold, believe it or not, makes a difference.
Yes.
You know, believe it or not, I love Mexican passports and Chilean passports for work visas because they have certain kind of visas that other Latin Americans cannot get. And also, everybody needs to know their family history.
Yeah.
It's very important because there are many ways to claim U.S. citizenship.
Yeah, you found a bunch of citizens.
Yes, that's one of my wishes. I find citizens that don't know they're citizens.
That's great.
Very often. Okay, because if your family lived here 1-2 generations ago, chances are that you can claim citizenship and you don't know it. So I always tell, oh, do you know anything about your family? And also there's a law from 2000, from the 90s called 245I that can help a lot of people with a status now, adjust status, if anybody ever petitioned for them or their parents. So I would say, I don't care if your parents never immigrated into the United States. What I need you to find out is whether a brother, a sibling, or employer petitioned for them at some point. And for some reason they decided not to come, it's fine. I just need to know if anybody ever petitioned for them. And unfortunately, even attorneys sometimes don't even ask those questions.
Right.
So that's what I say is always, when you go for an appointment, know your family history. Okay, you might be American, don't know. But the other day I met a Canadian who's a member of a tribe. And when he comes back in August, we just have to go to USCIS, and he only has to say, I want my green card, and he can get a green card.
Wow.
Because of the tribe that he's a member.
He's a Native American?
Yeah, he's a Native American.
He's a real people from the land.
He's a real people from the land, born in Canada, but he can never be denied entry to the United States. And if he wants a green card, he just has to go to USCIS and ask for one.
I said that because I saw another stop where these people get stopped and they're Native American. This is the best part. So they get racially profiled. Did you see this?
No.
They get racially profiled because they're Native American. So like they might look Hispanic, okay? And then they get stopped and the guy goes, are you guys legal here? And they're like, we were the first kinds. We're Native American. And I died laughing because I was like, that is the correct response. She's like, we are the originals. We are definitely more American than you. I could not stop laughing. That was the best one I've seen.
My dad passed away a couple of years ago, but he used to tell me all the time, if anybody ever asks you, if you're an American or why you're here, ask them where their grandparents were born. And most likely, most people that you meet will have to say that will have to admit that at least one of their grandparents was not born in the United States.
Right.
It's still, it's still in the 21st century.
Where are you getting your clients? How are your clients finding you?
Well, I get many clients from my Ms.Esquire connections.
Normally, I get a lot of referrals from other attorneys, and funny enough, from a lot of immigration attorneys.
Because they don't do
Because they don't do what I do.
Awesome.
Yes, and I tell them, as I have to be able to be open enough to see an asylum case when somebody has one. Okay. If somebody comes and tells me, okay, I had a gun to my head and this happened to me, I have to say, okay, maybe your best case is an asylum case. I think a responsible immigration attorney should be able to see when it's better to refer somebody to that can do an employment-based or an investor-based visa, especially if the person is here legally and came and still has status.
Yeah.
You can have an asylum pending while you have status. I just did a case like that. They came and they first applied for student status, then they apply for asylum, and then they came to me. And right now they have the green card to work because I kept them in status the whole time. And I was like, you're not leaving school. And then I switched them to a visa that is called TN. They were from Mexico, so I switched them to an employment-based visa. And they did not have to give up their asylum claim because their asylum claim is very important for a lot of people.
Right.
Okay? Yes, there might be weak cases out there, but there are a lot of people that yes, and they suffer a lot, and these people suffer a lot. But they didn't have to wait the 15 years that an asylum case takes.
Right.
We were able to help them wait quicker, so they got here like 4 years ago, and they're already green card holders. But I was privileged enough to be with them from the beginning of their case, and they never had to give up their status in order to claim their asylum. So they always had a temporary status, an asylum pending, and the green card process pending. And now it's approved as of like 2 today, like 3 weeks ago. So they got holders, and now I'm sending their asylum to the asylum unit a letter saying I don't need an asylum anymore. Thank you very much.
Great.
Yes.
That's great.
So yes.
I really love how passionate you are. I mean,
Yeah.
your clients are very fortunate to have you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, friend, I'm really grateful that we were able to interview you today, and obviously I'm happy we got to have this conversation. I think it's important sometimes for us to, I love what you do, and I love how passionate you are and zealously advocate for your clients. And I also think it's important, like when you, I mean, like first you're dressed as a Statue of Liberty today.
If anyone missed that.
But second, I think it's so important to never forget where we came from, right? And to be able to, I talk to my dad often. He always used to say we treat everybody the same, no matter where they are in their life. But like the minute we forget where we came from, we become one of them, right? So I think it's so important. I was scared for a really long time to share my story, and I think it's given me a lot of power to be able to share with people that have also migrated and gone through the whole thing. And I appreciate you being here, because I think it gives us, like, you know, truth to a lot of misconceptions out there. And I'm grateful that you're part of our group, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I love being part of the group, and I thank you for the opportunity to share, to share my story today, and also for the opportunity of helping people, of trying to help people, because I know you guys do care.
Yeah.
Where can good hands.
Where can people find you? If they wanted to contact you, where can they reach you?
Yes, my firm is Work Visa Lawyers. Instagram is Work Visa Lawyers USA, and our telephone number is 754-888-0116.
Awesome.
Okay.
Repeat it one more time, because you have
That
that
was
Spanish
fast.
flair.
Yes.
All right, let's try one
I'm
more
really
time.
excited. 754-888-0116.
Awesome.
We at Ms.Esquire hope that you continue to grow your network and your net worth until we see you at the next episode of Ms.Esquire.
Yes, and please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you like this episode. And if you want more information on how you can grow your network and your net worth and be a part of our community, you can email us at admin@msesquire.com for more information. See you on the next one.